No problem. I still got plan C. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, and welcome to the Plan C podcast. Got a great show today. I know we didn't have an episode last week. I was doing a little bit of traveling. Apologies. But we're back. Got an NFL episode for you today, joined by AJ. Should be great. Make sure you are liking, make sure you are subscribing. All the good things. Check us out on Spotify, check us out on YouTube, check us out on Apple. We're all over the place. Instagram, Twitter. Give us a follow. Give us a listen. Let us know what you think. I know it's been a lot of football recently, and that will definitely continue, but we're gonna, there's episodes, there's some fun episodes coming up, I promise. So if you're not a football fan, but you are a Plan C podcast fan, don't worry, there's some good stuff coming down the tube. Again, appreciate AJ for coming on. We were supposed to record on Tuesday, but I totally slept through when we were supposed to record. So we're recording this on a Wednesday, and hopefully gonna get this out immediately. So, hope everyone is having a great Wednesday. As I said, make sure you're liking, make sure you're sharing, make sure you're subscribing, following, whatever it is, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, whether it's YouTube. Check out previous episodes. Again, great to be back. Looking forward to getting some more stuff out. Anyway, I'm babbling. Let's get it. So last week, I was not here. And this episode is going to be slightly different from the one that we do next week, just because we are not, obviously this isn't on a Monday, so it's coming out a little later. So we're not going to have predictions, blah, blah, blah. But I think a good place to sort of start off is talking about rookie QBs. I think this is a great place to start for you because you are an Indianapolis Colts enjoyer. So you have sort of a pretty good idea about a certain rookie QB. Let's get into it. Obviously, the Colts took AR-15 with the fourth pick pick
overall.
And I mean, minus the injuries, kind of looks like so far. I'm not going to say that like he should have gone one, but man, does he look good while he's not been injured.
That's the key part of it. When he's not been injured. No, leading up to the draft, there was there was little rumblings that he could potentially have gone first overall. At the time, I didn't think so. I think everybody thought he was going to be somewhat of a project quarterback, right? That he was going to need a little bit of time to figure it out. But when he's been on the field, then he has been super dynamic, super fun to watch, has really kind of brought that offense together surprisingly. But he's been injured 3 separate times in 4 of the games that in 4 games that he's played. He's been injured 3 times. He missed his 5th game with an injury, with the lingering concussion. So it really starts to make you wonder, this early into his career, is this what you're gonna have to deal with week in and week out, or are you gonna have to be, wincing every single time that he gets brought to the ground? I am at this point.
Yeah, no, it's definitely tough. He went on IR today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so at least out 4 weeks. So you miss the Saints game. I think you missed the Texans, right? I don't know your guys' schedule exactly. But
Jacksonville, Cleveland, Houston, and New Orleans, I believe.
Yeah, so definitely some. I as a Saints fan, who our defense, I feel like we always have trouble with mobile quarterbacks. I'm thankful to say the least. Never want to deal with injuries in the league, but hey, if you can avoid a fucking nightmare, good to avoid a nightmare. But definitely disappointing for Colts fans, I would say.
It's disappointing. Luckily, Gardner Minshew has been super, super solid. He's not lighting up the scoreboard, but he's being super efficient. He's protecting the ball. He's completing a high percentage of his passes. He's not throwing very far. Right, his yards per attempt are pretty low, but he's not losing the games, which is all you really need to do. Right.
Yes,
But again, it just
I feel like your defense is just good enough to carry the team at this point.
defense is stepping up. Our run game is stepping up big time. Week 1 when we played Jacksonville the first week, we didn't have Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor, so our run game was pretty weak then. Zach Moss is third in the NFL in rushing yards right now, and he didn't play week 1. So,
Yeah.
And Jonathan Taylor is coming off he was on a pitch count. They're ramping him up. They're going to split. I mean, I could easily see a world where they both give 15 plus carries a game going forward until Anthony Richardson comes in. But yeah, like I said, Gardner's been great. He's stepped in. He's really kind of handled himself well. So I'm not nervous for these upcoming games. I still have a good amount of hope that the Colts can go on a good little run, to be honest. This team is much, much better than I think a lot of people thought. But again, it just makes you worry, like, down the line, like, how much are the Colts going to consistently worry about? And I almost said Andrew Luck, PTSD, Anthony Richardson's health. Shit. See, there it is in action.
Yeah,
So it just makes you worry.
Yeah, and I think your statement about the Colts being a lot better can sort of be passed on to the rest of the division. I think for really the past 5 years, I mean, no offense, but the division's kind of been a joke. I feel like ever since Andrew Luck retired, it's just been sort of the division winner, and then they kind of just get smoked in the divisional or the wild card.
Even before that, Houston and Jacksonville have consistently been picking top 5 for the last decade plus.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. So it is cool to see, sort of the AFC South kind of revival. And just on that topic, holy Moses, CJ Stroud he's looking good. He's looking really good. And I don't know about you, but I personally thought that CJ Stroud was going to get killed. I thought that
interesting.
I thought the Texans were just going to be very, very bad. And honestly, I think the expectations I had for Bryce Young in Carolina, I should have just swapped the two, because wow, the Panthers look so freaking bad, but the Texans have a lot of life. I'm worried for the Saints this week against the Texans.
They've shown some interesting stuff, man, and they've done it with, it's interesting to compare the two situations, right? Because Carolina's kind of reportedly scrambling because they want to find a wide receiver 1, which
is hilarious.
They had to ditch theirs to get Bryce Young, and so they're kind of scrambling, and a lot of people were putting Bryce Young's holdups on their offensive talent around them. Look at Houston. Their top receiver right now is Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Right? And a rookie Tank Dell. Third round pick. He might have been a second. I don't know. But regardless.
D'Amico Ryan.
It just goes to show.
He knows how to coach a football team.
And it looks like Frank Reich still doesn't.
Yeah, that does not look good, especially when the Panthers don't even have their own first round pick this year.
Well, that's the thing. When you look at what the fact that the Panthers are sitting at 0-5, right? The only team in the NFL still not having a win. They traded so much to move up to get Bryce Young. Like, when you kind of look at it, if they hold that still that worst record in the NFL, they're basically going to be trading DJ Moore, Jalen Carter, Caleb Williams, and 2 second-round picks to get Bryce Young. When you look at it like that, all the picks that were given up and DJ Moore, who's coming off a great game, not
Oh,
looking good.
I went against him in fantasy this week. Don't talk to me about that.
It's just not looking good though. It's worrisome how poor Bryce Young has looked, and it's not his fault.
If that pick becomes Caleb Williams, like that is abject disaster. That is, I don't really know how, like how does David Tepper just accept that? David Tepper has, ever since he's become the owner, that team has been terrible. And you look at last year when Steve Wilkes took over, they were like dead and destitute, They're like dead as hell. And then he rallied them. They went 6-6, and they were in the conversation at the end of the year for the division, which is crazy. No way that should have happened. And then Steve Wilkes they just let him walk. And now
that was a poor decision.
Now he's in freaking San Francisco, just like, oh hey, you want to coach just talent-wise, probably the best defense in the NFL? Oh yeah, sure, sounds pretty fun. Like, why did there's so many decisions there that I just like, oh, I scratched my head.
Especially because the history of coaches, new coaching hires of coaches that have already had, stints as a head coach. Frank Reich being with Indianapolis last year. Most recently has not worked out. Coaches that get rehired, it's these newer coaches, these first-time head coaches that are succeeding. I mean, all of the first-time head coaches, first-time head coaching hires from this past year have succeeded relatively. They've shown promise.
Yeah.
While all of the other ones who are rehires still kind of looking like shit, So
yeah, no, completely agree.
I mean, would you rather have given up all those picks and DJ Moore to get Bryce Young and to kind of? You're 0-5. You couldn't get worse. You couldn't have been worse with Sam Darnold or Matt Corral.
No, and I'm sorry. Like, was Gardner Minshew not just sitting there? Gardner, I feel like there were so many options that didn't involve giving up your first round pick and your number one wide receiver. You like, oh my, I can't. My brain melts because if this gets as bad as it does, they will have traded their number one wide receiver and a number one quarterback in Caleb Williams for Bryce Young plus all the other pieces.
Generational quarterback.
It's like,
and like I said, they could have stuck and picked Jalen Carter, who's.
Yeah, and then they got like a fourth for trading back with the Eagles, which really pissed me off. Because that was also the Saints pick that the Eagles had, and now people are like, "Oh, thanks to the Saints for Jalen Carter," and I'm like, Brian Bresee puts up the same numbers, but that's not talked about. That's a topic for another episode. Anyway, I think Carolina is really in a situation where it
looks like they got the third best quarterback.
And also it looks like where they're in a situation that they have actively set themselves back potentially like 3 years.
Yeah, we'll see what their patience looks like.
If they had just sat, taken an offensive lineman, or just taken Jalen Carter, put Jalen Carter next to Derek Brown, Brian Burns, wow, that's fucking terrifying. And you just stand pat. And you're like, yeah, we're gonna like really suck for a year, but then we potentially get Caleb Williams. And if we don't get Caleb Williams, Drake May is also a fantastic quarterback. Like, they could have taken the L for this season and been in such a better position next year. I know that people hate tanking in the NFL, and I'm not saying that they would be tanking, but you just accept that, hey, we have a bad football team this year. We're going to try our hardest. You get a young coach in there who's like, you say, hey, this first year is going to suck, but next year we're going to get you a shiny new quarterback, and you're going to have a really good wide receiver. One, your defense is going to kick ass. Like David Tepper, and I don't even, who's the GM in Carolina?
I want to say it's a new GM this year. I could be wrong.
Scott Fitterer, third season in charge. Man, Scott Fitterer, dude, you need to get your shit together, my guy. Just not a good look.
Too long.
Yeah. Sorry, I
want to leave you with one question. With how the season's going, and there's already some tension. It seems like Frank Reich. There was reports that Frank Reich and Josh McCown wanted C.J. Stroud, but it was Tepper who made the pull to get Bryce Young. With the season going the way it is now, they're winless. If it continues, do they stick with Frank Reich, or do you blow it up again next year, bring in another offensive staff for Bryce Young and really kind of stunt his growth?
You don't have a first round. You don't have a first round pick, so like, how much blowing up can you really do? You
think they shake up the coaching staff after this one pretty rough year?
I think it's hard because didn't they give Frank Reich a good amount of money?
I think it'd be a huge mistake. I mean, that doesn't matter to the NFL though. Like they have so many coaches that are still getting paid millions and millions of dollars who have not coached for the team in such a long time.
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, they gave him a 4-year contract, so it's
yeah. I don't know. It's not looking good.
Yeah, that was one again. That was a hire that when it happened, I was like, it's not great, not a great hire. But anyway, let's not stick on it. Poor Bryce Young. I feel very bad for you, my guy. Just put in a situation that, man, that is unfortunate, dude. And like we saw it against the Saints when they really beat the shit out of him. That's not going to be the first time, or that's not going to be the last time that happens. I think he's in for a long year and a sort of short, long career, if you will. On to the next. While I wasn't able to watch a ton of football this weekend, I was able to watch one of the 1 p.m. games, not fully, but I got to watch my Saints put the Patriots in a coffin. And holy shit. The Patriots are just in such a bad way. I think the Patriots being bad and rolling over is the bigger story than the sort of Saints good. I think we learned more about the Patriots in that game than we did about the Saints. What was your take on that game?
That's just, I told you over text. I almost feel bad for where the Patriots are currently at. I agree. It said more about the Patriots than it did about the Saints. I mean, Derek Carr, just kind of a whatever day. Like, it was nothing overly impressive that the Saints did.
They just like choked them out. Like
they were just there. Derek Carr, 183 yards. Kamara averaged under 4 yards a carry. Mike Thomas had 65 yards. He was the leading receiver in the game. Nothing crazy. It was just again, just Mac Jones, McCorkle just shitting the bed.
And it happened, I think it was 6 plays into the game. He threw a pick 6, and somebody made this point on a podcast I was listening to, but I think it was worse that the Patriots were home and that happened, because coming off of the Cowboys game where Mac Jones had 2 turnovers leading to touchdowns, or leading to defensive scores, as a Patriots fan, you're like, okay, this cannot happen again because we cannot play from behind. And then it happens immediately, and then the game's just over. The game is just over from there.
They've been bad turnovers too. You probably saw the stat that Mac Jones has already thrown 4 pick sixes in Gillette Stadium through 3 years, and Tom Brady threw 4 pick sixes in Gillette Stadium his entire career.
Yeah, not great.
His entire 20 plus years of playing. So, no, Mac Jones, and I liked him. I thought he had a really good rookie year. But man, does it look like he just doesn't give a shit about that. Like the way he's throwing balls away, he's just turning the ball over left and right.
His body language is not good either.
Exactly.
Like
that offense is so bad to watch.
And granted, I don't think the Patriots front office has done a great job of surrounding Mac with, offensive talent, whether it's line talent or skill position players. It's definitely been a combination of, poor play by Mac and just really poor talent acquisition around him. But, you look at like the Cowboys game when Belichick benched him, he's laughing. And you're like, that's not the response you want from your fucking quarterback.
Like I said, it genuinely just is an outsider. Doesn't look like he cares about what's going on right now. Not a good look though, man. I mean, he's eligible for a contract extension after this year. He's obviously not going to fucking get it. They're likely not going to pick up his 5th-year option if they already. I don't think that's happened yet. It's just, I mean, that's not the answer, right? You're benched 2 weeks in a row. For whatever reason, they're sticking with him still. He's going to start this week. He's not going to make any changes. He had issues last year. It's just that's over. It's over. It's not it. And you kind of made a comment like the personnel decisions around him have been poor. Who's their GM?
Yeah,
who makes those decisions.
Yeah,
Bill Belichick.
Straight up.
Kind of leads into it too. I mean, it looks like he's done as well, right?
It is it's so weird because the Pats had the 1 year where they made the playoffs, and it was with that was his rookie season, and so Pats fans were like, oh, like, hey, life. But I feel like ever since they got just completely demolished by Buffalo in that playoff game, ever since then, it's just been, just dead and destitute. And I'm not gonna say that Kraft is gonna fire him. I don't know. I saw a report that Kraft is frustrated, but Kraft seems like a people person. He wanted to keep Brady around, and he seems to be the kind of guy to do, quote, right by his guys. So I don't know if it'll be the kind of thing where Belichick, is fired, or, he's fired, but they say he's resigning, and then it's like, oh, look at that, Belichick is now in San Diego. I don't know what that path is, but it will very much surprise me if Kraft lets him go.
See, I think it'll be more surprising if he's coaching the New England Patriots next year.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
I mean, at what point, right, it's going to, I don't want to say tarnish his reputation, because that's not true. He's looked at as one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, obviously. But his last 3 years have been pretty rough, without Tom Brady. I don't see it going, if it's going to continue going the way it is the last couple of weeks. If that continues for the rest of the season, I don't see how you come back both times. I could just see him walking away, calling it a career. Been around the NFL for quite some time.
Oh, you don't think he wants to try and get Shula's record, the win record? because he's close. He's close. And another thing that I think, again, somebody else, I'm stealing this podcast point. Another thing that somebody mentioned is that Reed is also sneaking up on Shula's record. So for Belichick, it's like, well, your biggest threat may not be the fact that you may not get it, but it's the fact that Reed might get it. Because, I mean, I don't want to be, that guy, but we can kind of pencil in Andy Reid for 10 wins every year with Mahomes at this point, right? Like, I don't think that's an outlandish statement to make.
I mean, he's still like 60, 70 wins behind, even at that rate.
But I know, but you like if Reed coaches for 7 more years, he'll get there.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm pretty sure Reed is like, I think 6 years younger than Belichick. So the pathway is there. The pathway is there. I think to call Belichick done, I'm not. I can understand it, but I'm not prepared to do that. I just think that this is Bill Belichick. Is he maybe tanking? Like what happens if Belichick ends up with the second overall pick? And oh my God, can you imagine a situation where the Bears get the first overall pick again, but Fields has like played really fucking well, and they like somehow convince themselves to just like to not take Caleb Williams, and they're just like, Marvin Harrison Jr., let's do that. That would be so funny. It'd be the most Bears things I've heard.
I mean, they'd get one of the biggest draft hauls you've ever seen for that first overall pick.
Yeah, that's true.
But if somehow the Patriots do end up with Caleb Williams, maybe they give Belichick, a chance with him. But I don't know. It's going to be very difficult to see.
Yeah. Do you think the Patriots are the worst team in the NFL?
Yes, I 100% think that the Patriots are the worst team in the NFL right now. They are, without a doubt. We just shit on the Panthers organization. We shit on Bryce Young, coaching staff, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, they got a rookie quarterback to work with. The Patriots do not. They got a first round quarterback who's going into his third year, who's been benched twice. They have one of the worst rushing offenses, one of the worst passing offenses.
Benched twice this year. Sorry.
But yes. They lost their 2 best defensive players, Judon, Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez for the year. They have no receiver over 100 yards this year. Their number one wide receiver coming into the year was supposed to be Juju. Signed a 3-year, $33 million contract. Has 86 yards on the season through 5 games. No touchdowns.
Missing Jacoby Myers.
Exactly. Mac Jones just came out and said something that, it seemed like they would have wanted him to stay. I mean, you essentially signed Juju for more than what Jacoby Myers got, and look at the difference. They don't have a running back. Their defense is going to continue to be poor. Mac Jones is staying in at QB1. I don't see him getting better. I just see that situation getting worse and worse and worse.
I think that's a fair point. I personally think that I think the Panthers are just worse. Just by I don't know. I have no faith in Frank Reich at this point. And maybe that's just my own, bias of still believing in Belichick. But I think that is the worst team in football. But that's, sort of we're nitpicking at that point because holy Moses, are both of those teams just very, very bad. And I also think that the Bears are still just a very bad football team.
Denver.
Oh my goodness. Denver Denver is just kind of funny at this point, especially as a Saints fan who doesn't have to deal with all of the Sean Payton bullshit anymore. Um, it's pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there are definitely times I miss Sean Payton, but I do not miss Sean Payton. Like, not now. Last year I did, but now absolutely not. No, it's fucking hilarious. Every Broncos loss seems like just a kick in the dick. It
Seriously, man.
just like, oh my, yeah, no, it seems just terrible. I'm so thankful I'm not a Broncos fan, because even stretching back to last year, quick plug, there's one of my favorite YouTube channel is called That's Good Sports, and it's run by Brandon Perna.
Yeah.
That is like, well, I think it's called like appointment viewing or whatever, when you're just you kind of build your evening around like when you're gonna watch that. I live for Brandon Perna's post game reaction Broncos
the worst,
videos.
the
new worst. Oh my god, he is just out of all the like sort of football YouTubers where you have like 5-point vids, or and Tom Grossi and urinating tree. I think he's the best one. At least he sort of tickles me the most, if you will. He definitely scratches some very specific itches for me, and I hope nothing but the best for him. I should buy his coffee, even though I don't drink coffee. Maybe a good Christmas.
Oh yeah, the bench warmer brew.
Yeah. Anyway, third topic. We saw the battle of the best, and I don't even know if you can call that at this point.
Some people probably were.
Yeah. But we saw the 49ers just take the Cowboys just behind the barn, just, sorry, old Yeller, bang. And I think if you are somebody who just looks at things in a vacuum and you're like, Dak versus Brock Purdy. Okay, Brock Purdy's going to win that. Kyle Shanahan versus Mike McCarthy. Okay, Mike McCarthy is kind of a pumpkin at this point. San Francisco defense versus Dallas's defense. Okay, San Francisco's defense is better. But it still seemed like, okay, should Dallas have gotten completely fucking blown out? Maybe not. But at this point, the 49ers just have such an edge on them. Talent-wise, they seem miles ahead. And at this point, I think there are just two top teams in the NFC, and from there is a massive drop-off. What do you think?
I will say this. I was not surprised by that game whatsoever. My dad's a huge 49ers fan, and I even told him it's going to be a blowout. It's not even going to be close. Dallas, I mean, hey, they jumped off to a 40-0 win week 1 against New York. People thought they were one of the top contenders. I think we even said that ourselves. But I mean, their 3 wins this year have come up against both New York teams, and then the game last week against New Orleans. I mean, excuse me, against New England. So they've not beat a good team. Their 2 losses, one of their losses came against one of the other worst teams in the NFL, and the Cardinals. So I'm not surprised. I really think we're seeing in real time the effect that Trayvon Diggs injury had on that defense. That defense has dropped off the last few weeks, and since that injury happened. No, San Francisco proved that. I mean, they got to be Super Bowl favorites, betting favorites right now. They're
by a mile.
They're top 3 in any statistical category, offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball. They're top 3, right? Every week they're winning different. They're winning different ways every single week.
I can't even express just how disgusting this team is in the best way. They are so intimidating, and This feels like the old NBA where it was just like, yeah, it's gonna be Warriors Cavs. Like, we know it. It's gonna be Eagles 49ers for the NFC Championship. We know it. It's gonna happen.
What are your thoughts on the Brock Purdy hate that's happening now? Or
Is
have you
there
even seen it?
Brock Purdy hate?
Yes, dude. People are just saying how he's just a product of the system. I see so much discourse that he's not a good quarterback. He's just kind of is what he is. Any quarterback would have been good in this situation. He's just dinking and dunking. He's game managing. Dude has 1,200 yards, no picks on the season.
I laugh at that. I laugh at that.
And he's spreading the ball around too, man. I mean, you got 4 different receivers in the double digits receiving wise. I mean,
no, the people who are saying that are just are upset that the 49ers made arguably the biggest draft bust pick of all time and yet still came away with a franchise quarterback. I think, you can certainly criticize certain parts of Brock Purdy's game. He doesn't have the strongest arm, not super mobile, but like, I mean, dude's 13-0 as a starter in the regular season,
games he was able to finish.
Or yeah, whatever. It's a very like specific-y stat like that. But no, I think it's so I think that is so silly. I think people who are saying, "Oh, he's a product of the system." You didn't watch 49ers game. You must have not been watching 49ers games then. Like, what? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I think
they've gone through some rough patches, man.
Yeah,
Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard.
CJ beat hard, you mean? Like there's again, you must have not been watching You must have not been watching 49ers games. Or you must have been out of the loop. You must have been out of the fucking loop because this is the first quarterback sort of, it feels like, since Kaepernick where you're like, whoa, dude, like you are fully confident, in control, and you can not only make plays within the system, but you can make the off-schedule throws. And he's also good under pressure, which like nobody's good under pressure, but Brock is. And I don't know.
That team is phenomenal, man. They have no weaknesses. They really don't.
I wish I felt angrier about that team, but it's so hard because like Fred Warner is so cool, and Kittle is so cool, and Brock Purdy, like, what a cool story. He's Mr. Irrelevant, and he's like a top 10 quarterback now. I don't know. I
agree.
I think if maybe the fans were like Eagles fans, maybe I would dislike you more. But no. The people who shit on Brock Purdy, like, stop it. Please stop. He has answered every question to this point, and he will continue to do so. He's a 7th round quarterback, guys. Why,
Mr.
like,
irrelevant?
Why are we even doing this? Like, stop it. It's noise to make noise.
That's what people do. Flip side, best of the rest. I mean, we got our only other undefeated team right now, Eagles. I don't think they really look like the same team from last year. They don't look as dominant. What are your thoughts?
I think it's week 5. I think that it is very hard to go to a Super Bowl and come back and play at a high level, and they're fucking doing that. So I don't know. I think, the fact that they are 5-0 is an incredible statement to them. They're still flying high. They sort of reloaded. And they've they've got a really weird stretch coming up because they're either playing a team that I think they'll completely dominate or a team that will give them a pretty good run for their money. So their coming games are at the Jets, against Miami. Oh my God. Can't wait to watch that. That's a Thursday night football game. Oh my God. Or Tuesday night. Sunday night football game. Can't articulate. At Washington, against Dallas, at Kansas City, against Buffalo, against San Francisco. Oh my goodness. They have the most insane stretch coming up. So they'll definitely have to, prove their worth. And we will be definitive. It'll be definitive that we can say, like, oh yeah, the Niners beat the Eagles or vice versa. And then they have a really easy end to the season after that. So I don't know. I think
we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
We'll see.
It's still so early.
Time will tell. And if you look at their record, if you looked at their record at the beginning of the season and you're like, okay, you're going to beat the Patriots, Vikings, Buccaneers, Commanders, and Rams. Last year, the Patriots hung around. Vikings won 13 games. Buccaneers were in the playoffs. Commanders, were frisky. And the Rams, kind of sucked. You'd be like, oh, wow, that's impressive. But now if you look at those wins, you're like, Patriots are dog shit. Yeah. Vikings are dog shit. Buccaneers, I'm not going to say they're dog shit because my team certainly didn't beat them. But, they're not world beaters. Same with the Commanders. And the Rams, like, frisky, but, not contenders. So it's, I can certainly see your point about them not playing at the same level, but I don't know.
It just hasn't been at the dominant, in a dominant fashion like the 49ers are winning. Like the 49ers just beating the shit out of everybody.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, the only thing dominant about them so far has been the tush push. Or what is it? The brotherly shove.
The brotherly shove. Everyone hates it. I don't mind it. I think it reminds me of the conversation we had a couple years ago when Pat Mahomes broke his kneecap doing one of these and everyone kind of freaked out. And it was like, well, it was still working 90% of the time. He just fucking broke his knee. That's the risk associated with it, The
fact that no other team or that all these other teams keep failing to do it, it's just,
oh my God, the Patriots,
the point, right?
The Patriots did it against the Saints.
They tried to fake, right? They pitched it out and fumbled.
So ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I think people are more jealous than anything of the play.
It's automatic. I mean, Jason Kelsey's the only reason that play works, right? That's
probably. I would say. I mean, he's the best center in the NFL, so
it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, best of the rest. Would you put the Saints and the Cowboys at the same level at this point?
Give it. I'd really have to say you give it a couple more weeks because they both had some interesting games, right? You guys are both coming off highs and lows, two different extremes.
Yeah.
The Saints, in my opinion, have been a little hit or miss. It's up or down, so it's hard to really gauge. I think the Cowboys are going to plateau. I think they're going to win the easy games. They're going to struggle big time in those difficult games. So those two teams, I think I would put them. I mean, they're both sitting at 3.
Yeah, they're both at 3-2. Cowboys are the 7, Saints are the 8. But one thing I will say is that we don't have to play the Eagles twice. Ugh.
That's true.
I think our record is much friendlier. But yes, I can agree. I will say
the Saints is surprisingly Atlanta has been, decent, and surprisingly Tampa Bay has been decent. So that's the thing. Those three teams all look very similar to me. And I think I said this at the beginning of the year, before the year started, that I thought all three teams were going to be all four teams, honestly, were going to be similar but be bad.
Mm,
So the fact that they all have 3 wins is it's impressive. We'll see. It's going to come
yeah.
down to it, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Yeah. I something that I'm gonna just really start paying attention to is I think Dak is a bottom 15 quarterback.
Agreed.
I think that if you take away Dak's like first year, and you like really look at Dak as like the guy who carries the team, um, I think I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but I think you can't really say that like somebody like Derek Carr is worse than him at this point. I think Dak somehow got insanely overrated. And he got paid, and now we're seeing the other side of that.
I mean, he's had 2 phenomenal seasons. Okay. 2 really, really good seasons. Back in 2019, he had almost 5,000 yards. He had 30 touchdowns. And then 2 years ago, back in 2021, he had, again, almost 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns. Outside of those 2 years, his best season is his rookie year, which is 23 touchdowns. He has not had more than 23 touchdowns outside those 2 years. I know you can't really. It's difficult to do that. Say right, take away these 2 years, but I mean, dude's been in the NFL since 2016. I mean, 23 touchdowns. That's what he had last year. 23 touchdowns, 15 picks. I know he missed some time, but shit, those are rookie Mac Jones numbers.
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, and like, where is CeeDee Lamb? Like, what's going on there?
That always makes me wonder. Do you think they're like potentially like keeping his numbers down so they don't have to pay him as much? They wouldn't do that, would they? I mean, Jerry Jones. You don't think they'd do that on purpose?
I think Jerry would do that. I don't think Dak would do that.
He has only 4 catches in all but 1 game.
Yeah,
this year.
no. It's
in a contract year.
it's bad. It's bad. But I think other teams would give CD money.
I agree.
I think if CD went to like, I don't know, the Giants, I think the Giants would like throw a fuck ton of money at him. Because I think he is super, super talented. I just like, I think the death of Dak's career happened when Mike McCarthy got hired. And I mean, that's a further podcast. I think it's like Frank Reich, man. The hire happened, and I was like, did you not watch what happened at the last stop? Like,
it's these NFL coaches who refuse to let anybody else call plays. That they still think they have to be the ones to call plays. Those are the ones that just struggle. I genuinely don't think it happens successfully very often, and I don't think it should. I mean, being a play caller and being a head coach, those are two heavily. They have so much responsibilities tied to them. I don't think you could do both at the same time.
no, I completely agree. Unless you're special. Unless you're special.
Exactly. We can't go best of the rest. We could touch on the Lions. They're
Oh yeah,
right now they're 13
yeah.
in the NFC. Right?
Yeah.
And it looks legit.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for them.
Lions that's a scary football team, and I think it's been very easy to sort of laugh at all of Dan Campbell's sound bites, but dude's followed through. They're biting kneecaps and fighting people with one arm. It's I don't have anything negative to say. They've to this point in the season, they've pretty much answered every challenge. Yeah. Beating very good football teams.
They've been fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how this goes long term. And people love shitting on them for not using Jahmyr Gibbs. Relax. We know you took him in the second round of your fantasy league. That's your fault, not ours, not the Lions' fault.
It'll happen.
And as a David Montgomery owner, I'm like, well, Sucks to suck, guys. But yeah, no, I think Detroit having a good football team is awesome. Good for Detroit. Detroit ain't had shit in a while, besides some good horror movies. So, good for them.
Good for them.
Anyway, you got anything to plug before we get out of here?
That's it, man. Once again, shout out to That's Good Sports.
Shout out to That's Good Sports and Brandon Perna. Brandon, we're big fans. Keep doing your stuff, man, and keep climbing those subscribers. I'll be honest with you. I've been messing around with That's Good Sports since it was That's Good Broncos. All those years ago. So it's fun to see the journey that these guys have been on. Anyway. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Appreciate you for pulling up. Make sure you're liking. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're sharing. Do the download. Check us out on Spotify. Check us out on Apple. Check us out on YouTube. Check out our previous episodes. I am going to try and do an Airplane X podcast because I was, as I sat on an 11-hour flight recently, there was just some bullshit that was occurring, and I was like, I need to talk about this. So I want to try and get that recorded and out soon, but no promises. I also, there's the other special podcast series that me and my friend Julian are going to start involving states, but that doesn't have anything official yet, so just keep your eyes out for that. Yeah, AJ, appreciate you coming on and joining me, even though I am, I'm not 100% right now. I'm pretty groggy, because my body tells me that it's like almost 5 a.m., but that's okay. We're fighting through it.
I'm jealous. So.
I woke up, I think I was up at like 5:30 this morning. Yeah.
That's why you text me back at like 3 in the morning. I always forget. I just forget our time difference.
Yeah, we got that 2-hour time. Yeah, I did text you at fucking 5:23 this morning. I did, yeah. Anyway, appreciate you for coming on, man. Thanks for making time.
Of course. Looking
forward to next week. We'll have our full thing, and yeah, thanks for coming on. Good job by you.
Of course, man. Have a good one.
Peace. Thanks for listening, y'all.